Good morning. Happy Friday. I hope you had a peaceful night and a peaceful morning. Here is the AM version of actual news, and I have 10 news stories to start your day or to help you proceed with your day. Shall we? So, first story is the anti terror financing bill. And so, despite strong opposition from religious and civil rights groups, the House of Representatives on Thursday, November 21st, yesterday, passed a bill that would grant the Secretary of the Treasury the authority to revoke the tax exempt status of any nonprofit organizations deemed to be terrorist supporting. So just think about it. The Trump administration is coming in January. For him having the right to strip off any nonprofit of their tax exempt status just because they see it as a terrorist um, supporting group. Now, the legislation known as the Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalties and American Hostages Act passed with the vote of 219 to 184 and now moves to the U.S. Senate for further consideration. The bill has sparked significant backlash from a range of advocacy groups, including those focused on Palestinian rights, immigrant rights, racial justice, and climate change. These groups warned that the bill could be misused by the incoming Trump administration to target political opponents. Under the proposed legislation, the Treasury Secretary could unilaterally strip tax exempt status from organizations deemed to be supporting terrorism, a category that could potentially include religious institutions, civil rights groups, humanitarian organizations, and universities. Now, critics argue that this broad authority poses a threat to free speech and could be wielded as a political weapon against dissenting voices. Now, the next story is about Treasury. So, who will get potentially this type of right? Now, again, it has to pass through the Senate first. But Trump considers Kevin Warsh for Treasury Secretary with future Federal Reserve chairmanship in mind. So, Trump reportedly has Kevin Warsh in mind, as reported today. And so, by Wall Street Journal, this possible arrangement was discussed between Trump and Warsh, a former investment banker and member of the Federal Reserve Board, during a meeting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago retreat on Wednesday. And so, he's not just getting the position as the Treasury Secretary, he also will get a potential to later assume the role of Federal Reserve Chairman. Now, additionally, Trump is contemplating nominating Scott Bessent, a seasoned hedge fund investor and former Yale University lecturer, to lead the White House National Economic Council. Bessent's role could serve as a stepping stone before he potentially replaces Warsh as the Treasury in the Treasury Department. Now, while no official announcement has been made, the Wall Street Journal noted that Trump could still choose other candidates for the Treasury position. Among the names reportedly under consideration are Mark Rowan, the co-founder of Apollo Global Management, U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, and Robert Lighthizer, Trump's former U.S. Trade Representative. And so, which leads me to the third story, which is Trump's gaslighting. And his main reason for doing all of this and more is that he claims he had a landslide victory. And so, but it's a landslide that wasn't really a landslide. So these are the latest results. And so here with you see that he yes, he got 50% of votes, which is 76,774,608 votes. Kamala Harris, VP Harris, got 48.3% with 74,246,010 votes. Now, it's not a landslide, and it's certainly not a reason to claim that, because you got the popular vote, you have the authority to do pretty much whatever you want. Because literally, he's claiming landslide victory, which provides him with an unprecedented and powerful mandate to transform the country. It's just 50%. It's not a landslide. Now, in the recent concerning the election, unfortunately, Senator Bob Casey, a three-term Democrat from Pennsylvania, conceded to Republican Dave McCormick. It was a recount, and as a result, the Republicans will hold 53 Senate seats next year. Now, fourth story, the chief of lobbying, I call it this way. So Susie Wiles, which will be Trump's next chief of staff. He recently appointed her. This position doesn't have to be approved, so that will be his chief of staff. Now, what we probably don't know, or perhaps you don't know as much as I didn't, um, she was registered as a federal lobbyist until early this year. Now, this according to federal lobbying disclosures. Wiles' lobbying career spanned from November 2017 through at least April 2024, during which time she represented 42 clients, including major corporations, government contractors, and business associations. So this is during pretty much Trump's first term and beyond. As a lobbyist, Wiles engaged with the White House, Congress, and various federal agencies to influence regulations, federal policies, and business development on behalf of her clients. Some of her more notable clients included, we have a list: a waste management company resisting the removal of nuclear waste from radioactive landfill. Next, a foreign copper and gold mining company seeking to overcome federal opposition to a massive mining project in a pristine watershed. Next, a tobacco company attempting to block federal health restrictions on candy-flavored cigars, which are known to appeal to children. A foreign news organization whose owner has been indicted for money laundering. A private equity firm focused on developing an open pit gold mine on federal public lands. Now, additionally, Wiles lobbied on behalf of a foreign political party. Her work for the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria involved efforts to improve the party's relations with the US and government officials, businesses, and non-governmental organizations. So quickly, let's check the comments. Quick break. Not landslide. Good morning, Vivian. Good morning. Yes, it wasn't a landslide indeed. Okay, fifth story about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, this reads like an Onion headline. Marjorie Taylor Greene will chair the subcommittee on federal government efficiency. So, U.S. Representative MTG announced on Thursday that she will lead a new subcommittee tasked with eliminating waste in federal government. The subcommittee will operate under the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, which is overseen by Musk and Ramaswamy. Quote, we will identify and investigate the waste, corruption, and absolutely useless parts of our federal government. Try not to make any jokes here. Greene stated in a press release. She continues, our subcommittee will provide transparency and truth to the American people through hearings. The goal of the DOGE department is to bring accountability and gut useless government agencies. Greene singled out one agency in particular for scrutiny, the Pentagon. Quote, the bureaucrats who don't do their job, fail audits like in the Pentagon, and don't know where billions of dollars are going will be getting a pink slip, she declared. In a separate post on X, Greene also shared a Fox News article about the House Oversight Committee's plan to establish a subcommittee, the Delivering on Government Efficiency Subcommittee, which will focus on rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and she captioned it with big news. Okay, you decide what to think about it. Now, sixth story is this just came out this morning. It was not public. It was not announced as much as NATO, and this is about NATO, as much as NATO is over communicating sometimes. They're sending us videos and press releases and everything even before something happens. Now, this was not disclosed at all. So NATO chief, Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, is meeting with President-elect Trump at his Florida residence, according to a report by Dutch newspaper De Telegraaf on Friday. The report, citing unnamed sources, said Rutte traveled on a Dutch governmental plane, as NATO's leadership does not have a personal aircraft and typically rents planes from allied nations. Flight tracking data confirmed the arrival of the Dutch governmental plane in Florida. Neither the Dutch government nor NATO provided immediate comment on the visit. And now Rutte, the former Dutch prime minister, who is now Secretary General of NATO, is considered one of the most effective EU leaders in engaging with Trump during his first term in office. And he certainly, I showed you videos and coverage that he said that he has best relations. So let's see what will come out of that. Good morning, Yash. Why is US denied Netanyahu's arrest warrant even after ICC provided enough evidence? Because US is not part of ICC. And I have a readout on that. And by the way, you just guessed my seventh point, and here you will get your answer. But good question, thank you, and good morning. Orban, EU, and Netanyahu. So on Friday, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Putin's friend, extended an invitation to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to visit Hungary. However, his invitation comes amid a major diplomatic and legal controversy after several European countries warned that Netanyahu could face arrest if he steps onto their soil. Now, this follows the ICC, which is International Criminal Court, their arrest warrant that they issued yesterday, which also applies to Netanyahu, as much as their former Minister of Defense Gallant, and also Hamas leader who is thought to be dead and killed at this point. So the contrasting responses across Europe underscore the complex challenge posed by ICC's decision. So, by definition, EU and every member of European Union is part of ICC, is part of International Criminal Court. And so if Netanyahu were to step on any land within European Union, he has to be arrested. Now, Hungary is opting out of it. They don't have a right to do so, but Orban says, come to Hungary, I will not detain you. Now, United States is not part of ICC. We don't have to, exercise this warrant or detain anybody, because that's why U.S., has a different stance. Lisa says, good morning. Good morning. Vivian says, didn't Trump threaten Holland? I don't think specifically Holland or Netherlands. Not sure, but I guess, all NATO altogether. Now, Euro intelligence analysts pointed out that the situation forces EU nations to reconcile their legal obligations with their political interests, particularly for those governments that unconditionally back Israel. The controversy has already sparked sharp reactions from Israeli officials and the White House, with both denouncing the warrants. Okay, eighth story is telecom. And this is something that is not really reported in the United States, but is something that has touched probably, if not all of us, but a lot of us. Now, T-Mobile confirms breach by Chinese cyber actors amid ongoing espionage campaign. And as I covered recently, President Biden spoke with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, and they talked about it. And President Biden specifically talked about espionage in those actions. Now, U.S. telecom giant T-Mobile has confirmed that it was among the companies targeted by Chinese cyber threat actors, part of a broader espionage campaign aimed at gaining access to sensitive information. The group, identified as Salt Typhoon, carried out a month-long operation designed to harvest cell phone communications from high-value intelligence targets. While it remains unclear whether any data was stolen during the attack, T-Mobile reassured the public that at this time there has been no significant impact on its systems or customer information. And company spokesperson stated, quote, "We're closely monitoring the industry-wide attack and will continue to work with relevant authorities," unquote. T-Mobile now joins a growing list of major telecom companies, including AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen Technologies, which have been implicated in this extensive cyber espionage effort. The U.S. government recently described the hack as broad and significant, noting that it was part of a larger campaign orchestrated by the People's Republic of China. As the investigation continues, details remain scarce regarding the extent of the breaches, the success of the attacks, or the specific information sought by the attackers. Certainly something to consider and look into and cover when it comes to media. Vivian says, when I heard Biden, it sounded he was defending Netanyahu. Yes, President Biden said that, not specifically Netanyahu. The statement said, and I think I have the actual statement, I can pull it up. This was yesterday. Just to give me a second, give me a second. I have. So the statement by President Biden about ICC ruling was the quote, the ICC issuance of arrest warrants against Israeli leaders is outrageous. Let me be clear once again. Whatever the ICC might imply, there is no evidence, none, between Israel and Hamas. We will always stand with Israel. There is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas. We will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. So he is more concerned of equivalence between Netanyahu or Israel's actions and Hamas, rather than defending Netanyahu or defending anybody. And he stands, he recommits our stand as United States that we are defending Israel. So I would not really, say he's defending Netanyahu. Yash says it's not about being part of ICC. It's the irony that both Putin and Netanyahu has arrest warrants on them. Indeed, absolutely. Yeah. And Yash, to your point, we cannot deny, and that's what I said yesterday, we cannot deny what happens in Gaza. For that reason, if you followed yesterday's night coverage, I stated that I wish President Biden would, at least add the last sentence that we're standing with Israel no matter what. Even if you have friends, as I stated yesterday, any healthy relationship, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's governmental relationship, it is important to be able to voice your opinion and hold somebody accountable for their actions. That is what defines, at least in my eyes, a healthy relationship. Standing with somebody no matter what doesn't lead to good outcomes. It's not ironic. It's the globe's autocrats working together. Okay. All right. Let us continue. So the next story is, and this is our ninth story, that the Taiwanese president is visiting allies, including United States. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te will embark on a diplomatic trip later this month to visit the island's remaining 3 Pacific allies, according to his office on Friday. Well, today. However, the government has withheld specific details about any transit stops in the United States during the journey. Certainly, whenever that happens, that really pisses off China. So for that reason, I guess it's kept unknown, if not secret. Taiwanese leaders typically use trips to allied countries as an opportunity for brief stopovers in the US, Taiwan's most significant international supporter and arms supplier. These visits, often involving meetings with US politicians and public speeches, frequently draw the ire of Beijing, which views Taiwan as part of its territory. In the past 2 years, China has conducted military drills around Taiwan in response to such stopovers, further escalating tensions. While the Taiwanese government has not confirmed the specifics of Lai's itinerary, Reuters reported last week that he may make stops in Hawaii and possibly the U.S. territory of Guam during the Pacific tour. So we're not speaking about mainland U.S. or Washington, D.C. So certainly that would lead to major escalation. So nobody's playing that type of game. Good morning, Paul. Good morning. Coordinated effort to destroy democratic relations, trading blocs. They want to divide and conquer what remain. Well, yeah, that's the story. Now, about dividing and conquering. Remember yesterday I mentioned and I covered Russia's recent usage of the intercontinental ballistic missile. By targeting Ukraine. They targeted a major production facility that serves military in Dnipro in Ukraine. And today, just now, this morning, they issued a warning, and this is translation from Russian. So as you see here, they are targeting with another intercontinental ballistic missile the region of Lviv. This is Yarovsk. They call it NATO base. There is no NATO base, okay? Before we go any further, there is no NATO base in Ukraine region. They have to support this narrative because according, and I covered it extensively as well prior, because according to the Budapest Memorandum that led to denuclearization of Ukraine, any country out of UK, Russia, and US cannot target Ukraine with any nuclear or any intercontinental ballistic missiles as a result of that agreement unless there is an attack, right? So they claim this is an attack, right? That's why Russia claims they're fighting NATO. That's why they're claiming their NATO bases in Ukraine. Ukraine is not part of NATO, nor it has ever been part of NATO, and there are no NATO bases. Okay, so let's continue here. One of the targets for their missiles in the Yarovsky proving ground, it's also an underground NATO military base, they claim, an industrial hub, and a training base for F-16 pilots. There is much more on the territory, including transfer points for NATO helicopters, hospital, and so on. And their RST flight time is 15 minutes. So pretty much they're issuing a warning for the next intercontinental ballistic missile to hit Lviv region, which is at the border with Poland. So my question is, will NATO do something? Or are they going to wait till the ballistic missile, takes another minute or adds a minute to their flight and hits another type of target, which could be on their territory? So this remains to be seen. We're going to follow this. I will update you in real time on Blue Sky, on X if you remain there, and on Threads throughout the day. It's Honest Press, as you see here, ONEST Press. It was 2S, certainly. So follow for instant coverage, and I will see you tonight at 9 p.m. I'll let you vote, 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. It's Friday. I know you guys want to have some free time, but I will cover everything that happened between now and later, and we're going to dive into some actions, for instance, this intercontinental ballistic missile, in case this, God forbid, happens, and other issues as well. Okay, so I wish you a good day. Stay, again, keep your head on a swivel. Let's take one day at a time, one step at a time, and maintain your peace, because we need you happy and healthy. Okay, if not happy, then at least content and healthy. Okay. All right. Happy Friday to everybody, says Paul, to everybody in the Honest Orbit. Yay, Paul. I like it. Honest Orbit. And happy Friday to you, Paul. I hope the world doesn't fall apart in 12 hours. Yes, I know. And Vivian wishes everybody a good day. Okay, on this note, in 2 months till that happens. Oh, God. Okay. All right. On Vivian's note, everybody, have a good day and see you later tonight.